Welcome to Make America Healthy, where our goal is to inspire you, educate you, and empower you with information and tools so you can take better care of your own physical and mental health. Today's show is on preventing toxins from getting to your kids and how to protect your children from a lot of the bad stuff that's in products and in the environment so you can have healthy children. We've got two experts with us today. One is David Steinman, who wrote a book called Raising Healthy Kids. He shows us a lot of products that have nasty things in them, everything from cleaning products to snack foods. He publishes a magazine called Healthy Living and works as the director for the nonprofit chemical toxin working group Healthy Living Foundation. We would also like to welcome our guest, Therese Forton-Barnes, and she is a household toxin health specialist. She helps families with young children reduce their exposure to toxins and ease the overwhelm and nerves of chemical confusion. She writes a newsletter, blog posts, and has a line of organic cleaning products called Teas. Both of these guests are going to inform us on a lot of things that are lurking in our food pantries, our household cleaners, and how we can clean it up for yourself, clean it up for your kids. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Life Boost Coffee, which is mold-free, organic, clean-grown coffee and the most delicious coffee you'll ever taste. You can check them out at lifeboostcoffee.com. They have over 25 different flavors. My favorite is the mocha dark roast. And we're coming out with a line of mindfulness half-calf coffee with Life Boost Coffee. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Yoga Fit Training Systems Worldwide, the leader in yoga, mind, body, fitness education for over 25 years, with conferences, ongoing continuity programs such as Yoga Lean. There's so much to choose from if you're not doing yoga and meditating. It's like another great way to get the toxins out of your body. So check out yogafit.com. And my name is Beth Shaw. I've written 4 books on health and wellness, and I'm the CEO and founder of Yoga Fit Training Systems and the host of this Make America Healthy podcast. So without further ado, welcome to our guests. Wow, this is a big topic here, toxins. They're insidious. I switched to toxin-free cleaning products about a year ago because I recognized that what my house was being cleaned by, it smelled fresh, but I'm sure that it was anything but fresh. Therese, ladies first, why don't you open it up with just some general information for our listeners about where these toxins are hiding, and then we'll talk about how to get rid of them.
Yeah, you did the first thing, step in the right direction, Beth, because I think cleaning supplies is the first place where people can start there by cleaning their homes of toxins, because cleaning supplies, there's so many of them. They are used in every room, including laundry detergent. So that is the big step in the right direction when you can decrease the toxic load in your home from those different products. So many of those products have fragrance in them, which is a whole nother culprit of toxins in our home. If you can eliminate fragrance in any product you use in your home, and that includes personal care products, shampoos, lotions, all that, fragrance-free is the best way to go. What people need to understand, and I try to help people with this, is that if you understand what fragrance is, you will never want to use it again. Fragrance is just a word on a product, but unfortunately, it's a word that is unregulated. And from the 1940s, from Chanel No. 5, who wanted to protect their fragrance, they went to the government and said, we need to protect our ingredients. And they put a law into effect that if you use the word fragrance on anything, you do not have to disclose what those ingredients are. So many ingredients in fragrance is very, extremely toxic and extremely harmful to adults, but think about children and their organs developing and them breathing in these chemicals that are in all these products, including fragrance, that they're potentially sleeping in them in their sheets. They are using them in the air that they're breathing in the home. They are playing on the floor. Their hands are touching surfaces. So You mentioned cleaning supplies. That's my number one thing that I try to get everybody that wants to go on this low tox, no tox journey, that you start with cleaning supplies.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to connect with you after the show to order some of your products. As I mentioned, my dog has cancer, so it's super important for me to keep a toxin-free household. David, welcome to the show. This new book that you have sounds very interesting. I would like to learn a little bit more about all the things that are lurking in our pantries.
Certainly, Teresa gave a good discourse on cleaning products. My book is called Raising Healthy Kids, How to Protect Your Children from the Hidden Chemical Toxins in Our Everyday Lives. You can go to Amazon and find it. I think that Teresa has brought up really good points about cleaning products. And I think there's an intellectual or a mental thing I want to talk about before you talk about products. And that is, people think that this is really an unmanageable situation because we see every day in the headlines about chemicals showing up in our drinking water, and that's huge too. Cleaning products, and I would put drinking water right up there too.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've moved a lot in the past couple of years. I moved from New York City to Florida during the pandemic. But every place I move into, I put at least an under the counter water filter for my kitchen. I'm obsessed with not drinking fluorinated water. I test my water with the testing strips, and people don't realize that we're 70% water, and that water that we might be drinking out of a plastic bottle, not only is it filled with chemicals, but chances are if it was out in the sun, you've got BPAs leaching into your system. And it's something that I think about when I go to restaurants. I ask them if they filter their water. I bring a water bottle with me everywhere.
So what do they say to you when you do that?
A lot of places say they filter their water, but let's face it, nobody's filtering their ice cubes, right? It's a challenge.
Well, drinking water is a really significant issue. And I would say even if you're on a limited budget, and I wrote Raising Healthy Kids for folks who are on a very limited budget. I'm an activist. I know what a limited budget is like. But forget the testing. Filter your water no matter whether you've tested it or not, because even the so-called good processes that eliminate, for example, bacteria and viruses, when water distributors use chlorine, they form chlorination byproducts that are carcinogenic. So even if your water tests free from contaminants, and that's about a 50-50 equation, it's going to have disinfectant byproducts, which you should be filtering too. So no matter what, filter your water. If you're on a budget, a filter that fits right at the end of your faucet can get about 90%, 75 to 90% of everything out, depending on what it is. So even if you're on a limited budget, you can buy a faucet filter for $25. The under the sink one that you got, Beth, is even better because that will get out PFAS. I presume what you bought was a reverse osmosis.
Yes, I believe that's what it is.
And that'll eliminate forever chemicals, which are showing up in water supplies all across the country. That was really smart. The mental thing I wanted to mention, though, is this is all manageable. And instead of being non-toxic or low toxic, these are terms we've used for years. I like the term anti-toxic. I want us to be a little more active and assertive because the world needs us now. We can do this. We can manage it. We need to be smarter. I'm really trying to get people to understand that this whole toxic issue is a manageable one. We need to educate ourselves because it's a very young movement. It didn't begin until Rachel Carson in the 60s. We barely have the vocabulary for what we're talking about, things like parts per billion. When chemicals are found at levels so low, we call it parts per billion, right? Who had that concept 30 years ago, 40 years ago?
David, I want to ask you something, and I would definitely like to get back to the water because I know they've been putting fluoride in the water since, I think, World War II. In your new book, you talk a lot about like cereals and other household food products that have a lot of things in them. And I'm gluten free. So I like to think I'm being spared from glyphosate, which they spray the wheat crops with, by going gluten free. But then I was with some friends at a conference recently, and one of them pulled up on Instagram like all the beers that have glyphosate in them. And it was almost like every commercial beer, even beers from other countries, which I guess are made here. And I heard there's fluoride in ice cream. And I think you said something in your book about cereals. Give us a laundry list of what not to get and what we should be on the lookout for.
I want to make it really simple. And I've done a lot of research on this with peer-reviewed studies. And I strongly urge folks for their diet, to try to buy as much organic as possible and to forget about the myth that organic is more expensive, because it isn't. You can find organic foods now for about the same price as conventionally grown.
And I will tell you, if you're just buying produce, fruits and vegetables, like their prices are super low. I wish they would advertise on this show because I'm a huge fan of Aldi. I think that they have a nice selection of organics and again, great prices.
And when you buy organic and you give it to your family, and studies have been done on this, the level of neurotoxic pesticides in your children's bodies, they measure this in their urine, goes way down to non-detectable.
Mm-hmm.
How do we all measure that in our own urine? Are there some strips that we can test ourselves for all these poisons?
Yeah, there are home tests. I don't know that they're where you use a little testing strip, but you can definitely do home testing. Again, if you do organic, you're really going to reduce your body burden of organophosphate pesticides, which are the ones that are neurotoxic to children and sprayed on everything from our cereals to our bread, any grain products. And other fruits.
Please, again, I'm gluten-free, so I've also heard that the gluten-free products are no better than the products with gluten. David, is that true?
They don't have gluten. That's a label claim. And they're sprayed. Unless it says it's organic, we've tested at our chemical toxin working group. Every test we've done of a grain product shows that they have neurotoxic pesticides in them. When you buy organic, they don't. So
and let's talk about rice for a minute. I'm part Asian. I make a lot of rice. And I was told that if you buy rice from another country, chances are it won't have arsenic in it. And now I'm obsessed with finding arsenic-free rice. What do you know about that? And what are some resources?
Arsenic that is appearing in rice is coming from various pesticides that are being used to grow it. So once again, you're far better off buying an organically grown rice that doesn't use pesticides.
And how can we trust the label?
When you buy organic, it doesn't mean everything is completely pesticide free. That's impossible today. But I've looked at study after study and monitoring reports that actually measure what's in organic foods versus conventionally. And overall, if you look at it, organic is about 90% lower in chemical toxins than conventionally grown. So I trust the label when it comes to pesticides. I will tell you, though, that we've tested a lot of organic supplements like organic spinach products, organic cinnamon, kale that you might buy as a dietary supplement. And when they come from China, they tend to have very high levels of lead, even if they're claimed to be organic. So organic is much better, but it's not perfect. We've got to hold everyone's feet to the fire, but it is a much better choice for your family. And again, the myth is it's more expensive, but I guarantee you, when you shop, you'll find all the staples like apple, celery, lettuce, bread are about the same price as conventional.
Right. Thank you for that. So I know you're both very involved in education. How are you getting the message out? Are we getting the message out to children as well so that they can start to learn to make healthier choices?
Good question. Because 10 years ago, I felt like I was the only person out there talking about this. And David, you probably felt the same way. Yeah, no, I know. You probably felt the same way. And ever since COVID hit and people are more in tune to their health, I feel like we've taken a step in the right direction. When it comes to children, unfortunately, it has to come through the parents because the children are starting to learn a little bit more. And I see some of these schools that are having them grow organic food in the schools. And those are great steps in the right direction, but it's really getting more of the public educated. And I think we're doing a great job, such as what you are doing, Beth, what David is doing. There are so many of us out there talking, speaking, podcasts, and promoting, paying attention to everything you bring in your home and everything you put in your body and on your body, because people shouldn't trust what is on a label. They need to read the label, but they need to pay attention to every ingredient.
And Teresa, that's such a good point. I think for adults, we forget with all of our beauty products how much junk is in them. I had a friend send me like these giant bottles for my birthday, and she was like, oh, they're organic. It's great for your skin. And I Googled all the ingredients of things I couldn't even pronounce, and I sent it back to her. And I was like, you might want to start reading your labels a little bit more carefully. And I think if we're all smart, we just use like coconut oil on our skin, because
Absolutely.
hair products, skin products, makeup products. I do wear a fair amount of fragrances though, and I understand that's fragrance is fragrance, and that's probably a culprit as well. That I may want to reconsider and just go with like the doTERRA essential oils we provide at Yoga Fit, because it's really insidious. And I drink a lot of tea, and then I read that a lot of the conventional green teas and black teas have all kinds of fluoride and chemicals in them. So I started buying organic teas. Probably one needs to do a comprehensive analysis of everything that you are putting on your body, on your head, on your face, in your mouth, and then start to change things up. I think someone should write a book with some checklists so that we can all go through and be very diligent in our health journey. I also know there are a lot of apps now where you can run different shampoos through and it'll tell you how toxic it is. Anything you'd like to educate our listeners on?
Yeah, that's a great environmental working group has an app. It's not perfect, but it's a good place for people to start, because this can be overwhelming. Just alone, you're mentioning from beauty supplies to tea. It's a lot for people to take in. There's over 80,000 chemicals on the market. 10,000 of them are used in beauty supplies. We only have disallowed 11 of those chemicals. Women put on between 12 and 14 products and use over 86 chemicals average a day on our bodies.
No wonder breast cancer statistics are through the roof now.
Yeah, exactly. And I help a lot of cancer patients. Unfortunately, they come to me after they get cancer and what am I using in my home? And I go through everything with them. People can do that on their own. They can start that process slowly of eliminating these products. And you said it, Beth, look at the label. You look at a label of anything you eat. Most people do. You need to look at a label that you're putting on your skin, which is our largest organ. You are basically putting that in your body.
Things like the term fragrance, also natural flavorings, is the same thing, right? There's nothing natural about natural flavorings.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Yes. If it has the word natural anywhere on any product you are using, run the other way, because that is a code word for nothing is natural in that product. In my personal opinion, it's a greenwashing term. You have to be careful of anything, even made with, that's another signal, made with essential oils, made with natural products. Typically, it's only about 2%. If they say essential oils made with, they only need to put 2% of essential oils in that product. You really have to pay attention to that label, knowing your ingredients, reading your labels, just like you did. Google some of the items on there. If I can't pronounce it, I would never, ever put it on my body or my children's body. Bubble bath. Look at what's in that. Horrible ingredients that these kids are sitting in bathtubs.
Snorting the bubbles, of their noses, totally. And all of that. Even coffee. I was shocked to find out how much mold is in conventional coffees, which doesn't stop me every now and then from going to get some coffee at a deli, but I do think twice. Right now I'm doing a liver cleanse from our friends at Global Healing, which I think is probably good for all of us to do a couple of times a year just to clean all these toxins out of our liver. David, talk to us about some surprises you found in your research with cereals and potato chips and other things that we would assume are natural enough.
I can give you some examples from our testing.
Please. Yeah.
For example, we have a litigation now, and I can't talk a lot about it, but we sued Justin's Nut Butters. This is something where we're really trying to communicate with folks that, again, this is manageable, but please be informed. In my book, Raising Healthy Kids, breaks down every category. So we make it really simple. But with Justin's, there are better alternatives. But there's an industrial chemical called acrylamide, which causes cancer and reproductive effects. Classic almond butter was the worst.
Which I will buy almond butter over peanut butter because they say the peanuts are not so good for us. So that's concerning too, because they were a natural products expo, which is where I met them years
My kids were
ago.
snacking on Justin's. They thought it was a really healthy, good product. We sent it to the laboratory, and it had so much acrylamide that, according to California health standards, you could only eat it a few times a year before it would increase your risk for cancer.
Okay, that's going to be thrown in the trash.
Yeah, they're not telling people this. So we sued them in court in California because in California, there's a law that requires purveyors of food and products and other products to disclose when chemical toxins are found at harmful amounts. The amount of acrylamide was definitely harmful. On the other hand, another product right next to Justin's was Whole Foods 365-day a year almond butter. It was very low in acrylamide. It would be a much safer choice. So this is the kind of thing we're trying to bring out through the tables in Raising Healthy Kids. Instead of buying Justin's, reach in the other direction and get the 365 almond butter. And there are other great brands too. That was a big surprise because Justin's is supposed to be such a healthy product.
So much for a natural product.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, David, for people who are listening to this, and this is like a wake up call for them, maybe they're having a health crisis, maybe they just don't want to have a health crisis, maybe they want to clean up their diet. We don't have access to a lab. Where do we go to find out what's in all of these products? Short of grinding our own nut butter.
There's no really coherent database for this, but in Raising Healthy Kids, I go through cosmetics, cleaning products, foods, clothing, and so on, and look at the brands and tell you which brands we found were safe and which ones were least safe. And we've done tons of testing to do this. I should mention probably about 80% of what we test comes out pretty good. But there are so many scofflaws out there who just don't think that chemical toxins are harming our kids when the studies show they are. Most people can't afford to do their own testing. We do it as a nonprofit group. There should be a lot more label disclosure than there is. What I'm trying to do in Raising Healthy Kids is help people to work their way through this jungle of darkness when harmful contaminants aren't disclosed. Another one we found was all the shellfish coming in from China had so much lead and cadmium in it. We sued Bumblebee, we sued Chicken of the Sea, a number of seafood companies for selling products in California that had so much lead in them.
I buy packaged salmon and tuna, and it says it's wild caught.
Yeah, wild Chinook is a really good choice.
I try to stay away from conventional big box, big brands, and anything with a big name scares me. You can just look at a package and know that there's something not quite right about it. How do you know?
Again, we've gone through about 100 different species of seafood. When you're shopping for salmon, because that's such a big one, wild salmon is much safer than farm raised.
But farm raised also goes by the term Atlantic salmon,
Yeah.
but there's no such thing as an Atlantic salmon, right? That means it was raised in a farm.
There are salmon starting to return to the Northeast rivers, which is great. I guess you'd call those Atlantic salmon, but the term Atlantic salmon does mean farm raised for all practical purposes. And when they're farm raised, it means the feed is not organic and it could concentrate chemicals like PCBs, dioxin, and antibiotics may be used with raising them because when animals are crowded, they tend to get sick.
Yeah.
So you do want to avoid farm raised and prefer wild salmon. And then there's other seafood choices you can make too that are safe. Just as an example, say you're shopping for tuna for your kids, right? And
say you're in Trader Joe's and you want to buy some canned tuna for your kids. Can we trust a supermarket brand?
I think with a little intelligence, I don't know that it's trust but verify.
Yeah. And if one downloads one of these apps where you can verify products, I know there's a lot of apps for like beauty products. Will the apps also go into the different foods?
A lot of them will, yeah. But I don't know if you can shop all the time and do apps. What I tried to do in Raising Healthy Kids is transfer it from me to your brain so that you don't always have to consult apps. A lot of this is just being smarter and educated.
And probably eating as close to nature as possible, cooking your own food whenever possible, going to farmers markets.
Farmers markets are great,
yeah,
especially for kids, because kids can get connected to where their food is coming from. You can talk to the farmers, they can become educated, and the prices are often lower. And you'll find a lot of organic foods there as well.
Great. Thank you for that. Let's talk about school lunches if we're talking about children. I've heard that school lunches are one step up from prison and hospital food. What should parents be on the lookout for if they're allowing their kids to eat school lunches?
First of all, some schools are improving their fare, but I agree that I don't think I'd want my kids eating school lunches every day. The reason being, I'd be concerned about the water that the food is cooked in and preparation. I have 3 kids. I can give them better food than they can get at school lunches.
So tell us like your typical lunch that you would send one of your children to school with that you make.
I'd start with organic bread, and then I'd have organic vegetables, and I would probably buy, if they're going to eat meat, I would buy a low fat organic turkey cold cut slices that I'd put in their sandwiches. I'd give them an organic apple, send them on.
You have very lucky children. Teresa, what's next on this forefront of natural products and consumer awareness?
If people really want to take their health in their own hands, and we talked about reading labels and everything, and you talked about having your urine tested, which there's a lot of companies that do that across the country. Some states have different regulations. Where I am in New York State, it's a little bit tougher.
You literally have to drive over to Jersey to get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had my urine tested, 15 years ago. And I found BPA in my body. I don't use plastic. And it came from the coffee pot. Every morning we were making coffee. It heats up the plastic in a coffee pot. So we only use this French press now. Taking another step in that direction of finding out what's in your body. You can.
Give us a resource that we can all go to if we want to take it next level and do this. Million Marker?
Million Marker. I actually think I have their link on my website. And I've spoken to the owner creator. They're out in California. You can send your urine into them. They will do an analysis of what potentially is in your body, your family's body. And that's one step. I think that would be the best thing for people to understand what you have, and then figuring out why, just like I did. Why do I have BPA in my system? And we went from top to bottom to figure it out. It was pretty easy to figure it out. Indoor air quality monitors, I highly recommend people having. You can test. I have various different ones, which I absolutely love. And I take them to people's homes. You can do that on your own as well. And it will measure the VOCs in your home specifically that you're breathing in every day, and other chemicals.
And for those of us in warmer climates, make sure you're changing your air filter out on your AC once a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
I moved into a new place. I was having respiratory issues, and then I realized I hadn't changed the filter, and I pulled it out and it was completely black. And so I guess we have to be just hyper vigilant about everything these days.
Everything. I have indoor air purifiers, talking about how we purify our water. I'm big on the air. I'm big on water, trust me, but I'm big on the air that we breathe. Our air in our home is somewhere between 2 and 100 times more polluted than the outdoor air.
Why is that? Is that because of all the cleaning chemicals?
Cleaning chemicals, how tight many people's homes are. You're not getting fresh air.
And what about putting plants? Because I see you have a lot of plants in your space. Are plants a good way to purify the air?
Absolutely. Plants are a great way to purify the air, natural way to purify the air, definitely.
Great. We're actually running out of time, which makes me very sad because this is a topic that equally scares and excites me. And please tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can find your books, your resources. David, I want to connect with you. We've got a kids program at Yoga Fit. I think your book would be perfect for. So tell us where we can find you, Teresa.
My business is livinggurus.com. Again, thegreenlivinggurus.com. And everything's listed on there. My store, my podcast, my website, my social media, and my newsletter. You can reach out to me there. I'm very accessible.
I'm going to put my cell phone number in the chat because I know you're coming to Florida and I'd love to take you out for a non-toxic coffee.
Yeah.
David, where can we find you?
Go to Amazon.com, put in Raising Healthy Kids in my name, and you can get advanced copies of the book. I'm also at davidsteinman.us, where you can visit my website. I'm doing a lot of reporting right now from Cancer Alley in Louisiana, where we're working with nonprofits there to help them to educate and to demonstrate political power.
We just did a show on cancer most recently. Yeah. To our dear listeners, please do your research on what you're putting in your body, on your body, what you're feeding to your children and your pets. It could be a matter of life and death, not to scare you, but that's true. I would like to thank our sponsors once again, Life Boost Coffee, clean, organic, mold-free coffee. You can save 15% at checkout by using the code YogaFit at lifeboostcoffee.com. And we're coming out with a mindfulness blend. Look for that, powered by YogaFit. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide, the leader in yoga, mind, body, fitness education, with conferences, trainings, ongoing continuity courses, health seminars, corporate wellness, and so much more online at yogafit.com. So until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, check out your food and your household cleaners. And if you enjoyed this show, please share it with everybody. This is very important information that everybody needs to know about, whether you're a parent or not. So until next time, everyone, thank you. Thank you to our guests. Namaste.